Throughout the years, I have reviewed so many different custom controllers from various different brands, and now Sony is now releasing their own version of a custom controller for the PS5. But unfortunately, one thing that all custom controllers have in common is that they're very expensive. But I am super excited because ExtremeRate reached out to me and sent me some parts so I can create my own custom controller, and in doing so, I'm gonna be saving a lot of money.
Yeah, boy.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn this boring black PS5 controller into something quite spectacular. And this controller does not just look good, but it performs good. So let's get right into it. And guys, stick around to the end of the video because maybe, just maybe, I might be giving away a controller. So for this controller build, we're actually going to be doing 3 different modifications to a normal PS5 controller. The first modification, and arguably the most important modification, is the back paddles. With the back paddles, we're going to be able to remap the front buttons over to the back buttons. And with this specific ExtremeRate Rise 4 kit, this gives us access to 4 extra buttons. And of course, we're gonna need to add some style points. So of course, we're gonna change up the front facing buttons and the analog sticks to something that's more metallic. And I think the gold metallic look along with the black controller is gonna have a nice finish. And not only is the gold metallic gonna look good, but for the analog sticks, it actually provides an added function because you no longer have to worry about the thumbsticks breaking or ripping, because at the end of the day, it's metal. And the last modification that we're gonna do is we're gonna change the L2 and R2 buttons. That way they could be activated at a trigger press rather than a long press. And this is gonna be great for FPS games and something that a lot of people overlook, because having that quick trigger pull could make the difference between living and dying in any type of competitive shooter game. So those are the 3 different modifications that we're going to do, so let's start building. Now, I did not create this video as a step-by-step tutorial on how to do this yourself. If you by chance want me to create a step-by-step tutorial, let me know in the comment section down below and I'll be happy to do this. Fortunately, ExtremeRate as well as a lot of other YouTubers have created their own step-by-step tutorials, so that reason I kind of didn't want to do it as well, but I wanted to do a review video talking about the difficulty of doing this as well as all the challenges I had to encounter throughout the whole process. This is something that not a lot of people talk about. Fortunately, opening up the controller is quite simple. You just have to take out the L1 and R1 buttons, and then you just take off the screws, and that kind of gives you access to the motherboard. After that, you're able to take off some more screws, then that gives you access to the front facing buttons. And as you saw, I'm now installing the metal buttons into this controller, and this process is super easy. And here I'm doing the D-pad as well, another easy process. I actually was going to do the thumbstick as well, but then I was thinking, I was like, hey, you know what, maybe I shouldn't do the thumbstick. So instead I moved over to the R2 and L2 buttons, and this process was a little bit tricky, I'm not gonna lie, because you do have to take out a lot of small components as well as replace their existing actuators for ExtremeRate's actuators. But really, the tutorials that are online is super helpful, and this process wasn't too difficult, believe it or not. Yeah, it was more challenging than the rest, but overall, it was not that difficult at all. And what's great is that everything during this whole build process just makes sense. Like, you see there's a ribbon cable that plugs into the motherboard, and you're like, hey, okay, that's for the trigger, all right? And then if there's another ribbon, it's like, oh, that's for the mic in the front of the controller. And then, oh, this ribbon is for the touchpad. So everything just makes sense. And there I was able to install the thumbsticks. Just note that the metal thumbsticks are a little bit more difficult to install, so you do have to put in a little bit of pressure in order for it to sit right. Another thing to note is that if you do plan on installing the Clicky Triggers for the R2 and L2 buttons, it is highly recommended that you disconnect the haptic feedback on these 2 triggers. It's very important because since it's now a clicky instead of a whole long trigger pull, there is no use of those haptic feedbacks. And the guides online are so helpful. I know I said it before, but really, compared to a lot of guides that are out there, the guides for ExtremeRate are really helpful. And so it's highly unlikely that you're going to be confused throughout this whole process whenever you're installing whatever it may be. And that's another great thing, is that whatever you do plan on changing, like if you just plan on changing like thumbsticks or just the buttons, they have tutorials for each and every part of the controller. So another great thing to know. If you did want to remap the R3, L3, or the touchpad, then you would have to use a soldering tool in order to solder some wires that they provide you to the motherboard. Of course, there's literally no reason why anybody should be remapping their touchpad, R3 or L3 buttons to the back paddles. So for that reason, yeah, don't even think about soldering. And of course, that's another step and you would have to buy another tool. So I didn't do that here. And I would not recommend anybody to do that either. Unfortunately, with every kit, they provide all the cables and they also provide all the tools that you'll ever need. The only thing that I wish they did provide was a little eyebrow thing that you see on the table right there. Yeah, that's like to pluck your eyebrows. I think I got it from my girlfriend. I didn't tell her though. Don't tell her, right? But yeah, I use that so that I could plug in some of the cables because it makes it a lot easier than the tool that they provide you. But hey, you know, you can still do it without this. It just found it a lot easier to use that tool versus the tool they provide. But really overall, it's very simple. Believe it or not, it took me like 4 hours to do this whole process, but that's only because I had to record this video while I was doing it. If I was not recording and I was just watching the tutorial while doing this myself, I would say from start to finish, it would probably take me an hour. And I know it looks super complicated, there's so many parts, but really and truly, it is not that difficult. Like, I built my own PC before and I could tell you this is something that is not nearly as hard or as difficult as something like that. And you might think that, well, you know, some of the cables are small, I might rip it. Trust me, the chances of you ripping it is very slim. I highly doubt that would happen. And so now we just came to the end. This is how the PS5 controller looks now. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. The gold metallic finish really contrasts well with the black controller, and it's great that now I have paddles on the back, so now I could reuse those front facing buttons to the back paddles, and it's gonna give me a huge advantage in any type of FPS game. If you got this far in the video and you enjoy the way this controller looks, leave a like on this video. I much appreciate it. And guys, like I said earlier, there is gonna be a giveaway. I am gonna be giving away a Halloween themed custom controller from ExtremeRate. So thank you, ExtremeRate, for providing me with extra parts for this build. I cannot wait to give away a controller for you guys. I'm gonna leave a pinned comment in the description down below on how you could win a PS5 custom controller for yourself. And trust me, it is super worth it. You're gonna love it, and it's gonna look pretty badass because, you know, Halloween time, Halloween themed. You know, who doesn't want a controller like this? Let me know if you guys want me to make a step-by-step tutorial on how to make a custom controller yourself. This video, like I said earlier, it was going to be nice and quick, more of a review of the whole process. Overall, I thought it was great. It's not that hard, believe it or not. It does look a little daunting at first, but when you're actually doing it, you realize, hey, you know what? This is not that bad. And trust me, it's really not that bad. And I think millions of people have done it themselves. So if they could do it, you could definitely do it as well. I'm gonna leave links in the description of all the modifications from ExtremeRate that I've used in this video. Overall, if you compare the price of doing it yourself versus buying it outright already done, you're gonna be saving a lot of money. So 100% do recommend it. It's a lot of fun, I'm not gonna lie, and you get to customize it as you want it to be. But anyways, my name is Matthew. Thank you so much for watching. But as always, peace out.